it's fun watching young people sort of go through the evolution that many of us went through, where when you're younger, you're a little more liberal. And as you get older and a little more worldly and educated and wise, you kind of drift to the right. It's fun listening to them come up with the way they think the world should be. And a lot of them are just repeating what they've heard from people they've wrongfully trusted, whether it was people on TV or their favorite actor or their college professor or some other lefty that he has the cutest hair. But so much stuff that they come up with, one of the easiest things you can use to slap it down is say, well, that's unconstitutional. They're like, well, why are you against the Department of Education, Parker? It's like, well, the founding fathers didn't want a Department of Education. They didn't want a Department of Health and Human Services. They didn't think we should be involved in educating our kids. They didn't think we should be involved in medical decisions. They didn't think we should have a central bank. They didn't think we should have a fiat currency. There's all kinds of arguments where my backstop, whether it's guns or economics, is the Constitution. And so one of the ways you've seen a lot of people try and get around this unfortunate hurdle is just to try and make the claim that the founding fathers are stupid. Here is a 1-minute example from a young lady, adorable young lady, looks like she's about 20, on Twitter.
When the founding fathers made this great country, I'm going to stop you right there. The founding fathers owned slaves. The founding fathers had less access to education than a modern-day 12-year-old. They don't know anything. I don't care what they wanted. I don't care what they think. It's unconstitutional. I should hope so. The Constitution was written by people who didn't think women should vote. The Constitution was written by people who had 15-year-old wives dying in childbirth frequently. The Constitution was written by people who had little cartoon Elmer Fudd shotguns, not automatic war machines capable of ripping down 100 children in a minute, and have, and will again. The whole point is to change. The whole point is to progressively make better decisions so we do not repeat the atrocities of our ancestors. If I was born at any other time in American history, I would have been burned at the stake or lobotomized. And we think the people doing that are the ones who know what should be going on today? We don't want to listen to the people who cured tuberculosis or decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't put lead in house paint. You are actively repeating the atrocities of your ancestors. You're doing it on purpose.
Let's talk about how stupid the founding fathers were. In order to get into most colleges in colonial times, like right before the Revolution, even after the Revolution, whether you were going to go to Columbia or Harvard or Yale or one of the few colleges that already existed, one of the prerequisites in order to get in is you would have to go through this sort of audition process where you would have to, some of it was written, some of it was oral. You would have to read and translate from Virgil. Do you even know who Virgil is? Publius Virgil something or other. I forget his last name. See, even I don't know, and I'm supposed to know this. I can't read in Latin. I can't read it. They also had it in Greek. You were to translate some ancient Greek writings. I believe it was part of the New Testament. But they have you ever seen? Go look at what the audition was for Columbia in like 1768 or whatever it was to get into the university, because this gets passed around almost every time. If there's a long comment thread under one of these little screeds, the founding fathers were stupid. No, they were smarter than you are. They're more educated than you are. Thomas Jefferson could, with one hand, with his left hand, be writing in Latin, and with his right hand be writing in Greek, and write the same message just in two languages as he's going across. I can't do either one of those, much less at the same time. But we're talking about guys who could go pick up a Latin text that was written in 49 BC and read it. They could go pick up the Septuagint, one of the earliest Greek manuscripts we have of the Bible that still exist, and they could read it in its ancient Greek without it having to be translated. And if you want to see how dumbed down modern America is, I'm guilty of it. Donald Trump's certainly guilty of it, and that's not a slight to him, but Donald Trump speaks probably on like a 7th or 8th grade level. Again, that's not an insult. That's smart if you're a politician, because if you start speaking at a grade level above someone in the crowd, you lose them. So being able to speak simply and well understood to the masses that aren't well educated is probably a positive thing in the political world. But our founding fathers didn't go through that. Have you ever read the Declaration of Independence? Have you ever just sat down and read the whole thing front to back? It's not long. I mean, it fits on one paper. Ask Nicolas Cage. Let me just read you the intro of the Declaration of Independence, because we are so seldomly exposed to college level thinking, to college level writing, to college level literature, that it's almost unrecognizable because we're so dumb. And I don't mean that to insult you. Again, I'm the same way. You don't hear me talking like this, and I wish I would. Actually, it probably wouldn't be good for me to talk like this as a radio show host because I would lose so many people. I'm just going to read this is like one long sentence, okay? One sentence. This is how the Declaration of Independence starts. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. My God. Do we have any politician who speaks on that high of level? Do we have any celebrity who speaks on that high of level? You know, and that's one of the things that I think is attractive about some of this intellectual dark web crowd, whether it's a Jordan Peterson or even sometimes like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, is that, you know, we're so thirsty for an intelligent conversation that when it actually happens, it's a novelty. No, the founding fathers weren't stupid, young lady. You just don't like some of what they said, and that's an intellectual shortcut to where you can dismiss it without actually having to address the points that they're making. And I love it. Yeah, the Constitution should be ignored. Oh, really? I think you're just talking about the Second Amendment. You're not talking about the First Amendment, are you? What's the expiration date on the freedom of speech? Were they dumb to write that down? Does that no longer count? Oh, no. Okay. So the parts that you count, those were smart. The rest of it, they were slave-owning idiots. Not believable. And what the heck's going on in Fort Worth? You know, when you see the DFW divide here, Fort Worth is known as the quiet town. It has crime. I mean, it's a big city. It's almost 1 million people, but not like Dallas. I mean, Dallas has more shootings and more murders and more gangland activity and whatever. And that's sort of the stereotype. And I'm not going to get into the Mesquites or the Garlands or whatever. Let's just talk about Dallas and Fort Worth, because it is absolutely mind-boggling that of the reports of all the homicides that happened in Fort Worth just on Sunday. Did you realize there were 5? And I can't say murder because they haven't all been adjudicated, and maybe it was self-defense, and I don't want to come get sued later. But it looks like there was 5 murders in one day in Fort Worth on Sunday. 5 murders. So I think Fort Worth is a pretty quiet town. This seems a little out of kilter here, but let me run through it real quick, because 5 homicides and 4 different disturbances. Number 1, a North Houston Street shooting. There's a house party on the city's north side turned deadly when a fight escalated, resulting in the death of Anthony Luis Rangel from gunshot wounds to the torso and forearm. I don't think it was the forearm shot that got him. 2 others were injured. No arrests have been made. Police are still investigating. 3:30 a.m., Matthew Fonseca, 24 years old, shot multiple times outside a residence on Conejos Drive in West Fort Worth. Jonathan Martinez, also 24, arrested and charged with murder after admitting to the shooting, claiming Fonseca had assaulted his ex-girlfriend. Yikes. There was a disturbance in the backyard on Forest Avenue Sunday afternoon that led to a shooting. 1 person dead, no suspect in custody. Police actively investigating. We still don't know the details of the victim. We're pending notification of the next of kin. So I don't know a name on that one. Then we go to the double homicide. This happened at 8:45 Sunday evening off of Asheville Lane. A 16-year-old Billy Gibson, not Billy Gibson, but Billy Gibson, and 25-year-old Jalen Sharp were killed in a shooting stemming from a struggle over a rifle. Marquavius Hunt, not a Roman emperor, he's a Fort Worth kid, 17 years old, arrested and charged with capital murder of multiple persons after allegedly shooting both victims multiple times. Now, how does this happen? You're struggling over a rifle? Oh, I want to hold it. No, I want to hold it. Now I'm going to shoot multiple people multiple times. Everyone listed here is under the age of 25. Everyone listed here is male. So we don't have the widespread problem of shooting violence or murders in Fort Worth, but we're not going to get the full complement of other demographics because everything is politicized these days. And that stinks because these conversations need to be had. I know it's uncomfortable, and I'm not even talking necessarily about race. You could throw in the socioeconomic, you could throw in the immigrant community, you could throw in the fact that different cultures. But also, you remember what else was Sunday? Father's Day. Think that has anything to do with it? Father's Day. What a coincidence. You know what I wish we did? Just like the way we kept up with the race of the subject or the name of the subject or the age of the suspect or what shoes they were wearing or what car they were driving. I think we'd get a real clear picture of what ails us as a society if we were including the birth status of these people. Was it a bastard? Was it someone that was born out of wedlock? Was it someone that was raised by their biological parents? Because we never get that information in real time. We never get it looking forward. We only get it years after the fact when somebody has to manually go do a deep dive into some of the statistics and look up some of the most telling signs of where our societal problems come from. Because some people think the societal problems come from an inequality, like an economic issue, like socioeconomic. Yeah, well, they commit all these crimes because they're poor. Oh, really? Because in the 1940s, when they were even poorer, they didn't have this many shootings. They didn't have this many problems. Maybe it's not the socioeconomic issue. Well, maybe it's racial. And well, no, because you can see that there's other factors that sort of delineate, an example, a white kid who is born out of wedlock and not raised with his biological parents is more likely to go to jail than a black kid or a Hispanic kid that is born in wedlock and raised by both of his biological parents. I'm not just making that up. There's studies to back that up. I can read some of them for you if you'd like. Some people have different excuses. Oh, it's a gun problem. We just need some new gun laws. No, we don't need gun laws. They don't need more money. They don't need reparations. We don't need to put white people in check because they're so racist. We need dads. And what a great illustration that on Father's Day here, that when I go and I try and do the deep dives and just do a dispassionate, even if it's ugly, even if I don't like the results, what is the root problem of so many of these ills when it comes to murder, when it comes to crime, when it comes to drug use? It's a lack of dads. Children brought up without their dad are 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 9 times more likely to drop out of high school, 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances, 14 times more likely to commit rape, 20 times more likely to end up in prison, 32 times more likely to run away from home. 35% of boys with a present biological father obtain a college degree. 14% of boys who do not have a present biological father get a degree. Fatherless boys are about twice as likely to spend time in jail before they reach the age of 30. It's not a coincidence. We need to start having some more honest conversations, and we don't look at race, don't look at money, don't look at economics, don't look at gun control. We need to start looking for dads. Anyway, 800-288-9227 if you want to build on what David in Fort Worth was just talking about. But up in Capel, there was a Father's Day prank. And this is adorable. I like this prank. This is a good, solid prank done by the wives. There was some ladies group at a church up in Capel. It was a Catholic church. And they said, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all get our husbands to wear the same shirt? Well, how are we going to do that? Well, look, this is the link. We all buy it in whatever size. And then the day of, we say, hey, will you put this on? I think this would look really good on you. Or give it maybe as a Father's Day present in the morning. Hey, will you wear your Father's Day shirt? And so the guy just trying to be nice, and we're not especially fashion conscious, the fathers of Texas. And they showed up at church, and over 200 guys are wearing the same shirt. And you know what? That's just funny right there. That is good job, ladies. I kind of do a similar thing with Mrs. Parker. Hi, Miss Parker. You know, I'm on the radio, and it kind of makes sense that so much of what I do here is a bit. But even when I'm not on the radio, half of my life is just me doing bits on the people around me. That's why this job is perfect for me. I'm not like acting like anything. This is just how I am. So I do this bit to Miss Parker where I'll see, like, if we're going to go out somewhere, whether it's a date or to church or to the, Sunday dinner at my parents' house or whatever, I'll wait and see what she changes into. And then at the last second, I'll go run back to the closet and I'll change my clothes to where I match her. And I can't always do it. Like Sunday, she wore a floral print dress, and I didn't have anything that was close to that, so I gave up. But sometimes she'll wear like, hey, I'm wearing a little black shirt with khaki pants or khaki shorts. And so then at the last minute, I'll go run into the closet, and I'll go put on some khaki shorts and a black shirt, and then jump in the car real quick. And now she recognizes it almost immediately. But for years there, about halfway through the night, we're hanging out with some friends, and we're in the middle of a pool game. And I'll just say real loud to where all our friends can hear. It's like, oh, that's so embarrassing when you dress just like me, Miss Parker. And then we all get a good laugh because then everyone else notices that I did copy her, and they hadn't figured it out for the 2 hours that we were hanging out. So solid job on the prank, ladies of whatever church that was in Capel. You did a great Father's Day prank. Well done. I don't know if it'll work on me. Who am I kidding? Miss Parker could talk me into a shirt. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, my next guest is a regular guest, the great Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. She's an immigration attorney with Lincoln Goldfinch Law. Welcome back to the James Show, Kate.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, I hear a lot of complaints about ICE raids where the guys are plainclothes police officers, and some of them are hiding their identity with masks and not identifying themselves well. I just wanted to ask you, what are they required to do by law when they're making ICE arrests? Do they have to have some sort of ICE clothing on them or identify themselves with a certain uniform, or can they be plainclothes? Is that a real complaint?
Well, law enforcement can make arrests in plain clothes. I mean, if you think about it, detectives often don't wear uniforms, but they do have to identify themselves, and it would be prudent of them to start with that, and not make people wonder who they are, sort of covering their faces with masks and refusing, of course, to say who they are is illegal and problematic, especially when we're in an era of like vigilantism where there have been, clear reports of people dressing up like police officers and going after immigrants. You would think that law enforcement would sort of overcorrect and be very clear about who they are when they're trying to make arrests and detentions. But that doesn't always seem to be the case.
So if they don't follow that protocol, do they risk their case being thrown out in court?
Maybe. I mean, there's questions that can come up later about whether there was probable cause for an arrest, whether racial profiling was utilized. Somebody maybe refusing to identify themselves would certainly be, open to having a complaint filed against them. Whether that would make the arrest unlawful, I think would really depend upon the circumstances.
So if you're a legal immigrant and someone claiming to be ICE is coming to pick you up and you think it's erroneous, what are your options?
Well, anytime someone is being arrested by law enforcement, they can ask for identity of the law enforcement. They can ask why they're being arrested, and of course should always remain silent under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. So not giving a bunch of information. And I mean, really the best thing in an arrest is not to run away, not to fight back, not to resist, because that can create other criminal issues. But this would be a scenario where if the law enforcement officer is refusing to identify themselves, then I don't think that resisting arrest charges would stick if someone was non-cooperative. So it's another reason why law enforcement really should just come right out with it and say who they are, and ideally wear uniforms.
Well, Kate, I wish we had more time. Sorry to make it so short. We just got stuck on the last segment here, but I appreciate your expertise in the matter. Just had some questions come up, and I think you answered it for a lot of people out there.
Great.
Thank you very much. This is Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, Lincoln Goldfinch Law. She's an immigration attorney here in Texas, and if you're looking for the services of such people, then I would start with her. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show. Stick around because we're going to have updates coming up on the situation with Kristi Noem, the cabinet secretary who got rushed to the hospital just earlier this hour. Also, the missile attack on Israel from Iran. Missiles are raining down right now. Are any of them hitting? You'll find out. Just leave it here on WBAP. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now homeowners, your roof has taken an absolute beating this year. I know we get storms every year, but we got, in my experience, more hail than normal, higher winds than normal. We've really been through it. I mean, except for maybe the snowpocalypse that happened, I guess, 4 years ago now. It's been terrible. If you have any doubts about your roof, especially if your roof is over like 10 years old or so, you need to get it inspected. Call Blue Ribbon Roofing and they'll come out and they'll do it for free. There's no trick. They're not going to like kick a hole in your roof and like, oh, I guess we got to fix it now. They'll get on your roof and if nothing's wrong with it, they'll tell you. They'll give you a high five, a little bit of paperwork and be on their merry way. Won't cost you anything. But if you catch a problem early, it could save you thousands of dollars in repairs if you go ahead and get it done now. And I know what you're worried about is paying for it. You got to cover the deductible. Is the insurance company going to give you a hard time? They can even help you with that. So go to blueribbondfw.com. If you don't believe me, go believe some of the hundreds of 5-star reviews they've gotten off Google. Read a few of those. You'll feel a little bit better about going to blueribbondfw.com. blueribbondfw.com.